All right, everyone. Welcome to our, I think it's Saturday night monthly setup. Jen is with me here in the chat, Jen O, and we were laughing earlier about how it's that time of year when nobody knows what day it is or kind of like what's going on. And we know that it's getting ready to be the new year, but especially for those of us in K-12 education who have the winter break off, it definitely becomes a very confusing time sometimes. So please bear with me as we go through it. So I'm pretty sure it's Saturday, right? So yeah, other people are saying totally lost track on the days. Yeah. So, but it's great, right? This is kind of a fun time of year. We get to spend a little time reflecting. We get to spend a little time kind of setting those intentions for the new calendar year. It's new beginnings are always fun, right? And the little Taylor Swift quote on here, this is a new year, a new beginning, and things will change. So we know that things change. We know that we're coming into a new calendar year. But with us here at Silk and Sonder, right, every month is a new start. We get a new journal. We get to start fresh. We get to start new. If you follow more of the moon cycles, you get the new moon that's coming up on the 30th. So we'll have a new moon, have the moon cycle, right? So to me, anytime I can think of something that gives me a new beginning, heck, even a new week, right, is something that is a reason to celebrate. So I am so glad that you're here with me tonight, getting ready to set up and get ready for the month of January 2025, which just seems like a bizarre year to me, but we're going to go into it, right? 2025. So my name is Maya. I am in Denver, Colorado. I have been doing these Sonder socials now for, is it 3 years, 4 years? It's been a while. We've been doing these and love to spend some time with the Sonder fam. And in the chat, our fabulous Jen O, who is in Texas, she will be keeping an eye out if you have any questions. It's 4 years in March. Yeah, isn't that crazy? So yeah, she'll be keeping an eye on the chat if there's anything, if you have any questions, those kinds of things. I will point out a few things because I know sometimes there's some new folks who are new to Silk and Sonder and or new to coming to these socials. You want to make sure you set that Zoom chat to everyone, that little blue box, make sure it says everyone. For some reason, I know like iPhones and iPads have the obnoxious habit of flipping it back to panelist and host. And so then the only people that see what you write are myself and Jennifer. So she will kind of give you a little reminder, but try to remember to flip that back to everyone so that everyone can see what you're writing. And then community guidelines, right? We want to make sure that this is a safe and supportive space for all of our Sonder fams. So we just ask that you're kind and courteous to both yourself and others. No promotions or spam. We respect everyone's privacy here. No hate speech or bullying. We limit those repetitive product and accessory questions. It's fine to ask people like what kind of pens you use that don't bleed through or where somebody got their stickers. But really the best place for those is in our app, in the Sonder Club app, to be able to get those links and folks can kind of share those with you. So that's another thing just to let you know. Sometimes the links that are in the chat, you can't click on them. It's a Zoom issue. So just know that that's potentially something to keep an eye on. I do also recommend to folks that either you take a screenshot on your computer or you grab your phone and take a picture so that you can, if there's something on there that you want to remember and you want to go back to. Keep in mind that these calls are recorded. They are posted on our YouTube channel. It takes a while for them to get up there, especially these on the weekends. So this one will probably be up maybe Monday, maybe not until Tuesday because of the holidays and our headquarters. I'm not sure what holiday schedules are looking like for them. Just know that the chat will not be there. The chat is only for folks who join us live. And if you ask me, that's where the gold is, right? That's where the magic happens, is in the chat. People giving ideas, people supporting each other, suggestions, all those really fun things happen in the chat. So we always encourage you to join us live when you can, but know that the recording will be there for you if you aren't able to join. And we do have lots of monthly setups. We had one last night, this one today. I think we have another on Sunday, and I think we have a fourth one on Monday, right? So we try to give you lots of opportunities to join live, right? The other thing, if you have any of those customer care inquiries, so like billing changes, address changes, I just realized one of my credit cards, the expiration date has passed for a lot of things that I have on recurring payment, because I started getting all these calls and emails about like your payment didn't go through. So if you have any of those kinds of things, you need to fix the credit card, fix the expiry date on there. Those all go to hello@silkandsonder.com. Jennifer and I don't have access to your account, so we can't really fix anything or check anything, but they will get back with you. Just keep in mind, they are a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 group. So, and they are on Pacific Coast time. So it might take a little while for them to get back to you, especially during the holidays. And then ultimately, just remember that these socials are here as a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community. But you are responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So if there's ever anything we're working on that's kind of not your jam, you don't really feel like working on it, you want to go to something else, feel free to do what you need to do. This is your, actually, these monthly socials are an hour and 15 minutes. So this is your hour and 15 minutes to do what you want to do. So if that's following along with the activities that I'm going through and showing examples for, fabulous. If that's spending some time coloring, if that's working on another page, totally up to you. You know, if the music I'm playing is not your jam, right, you can mute it. If my voice is not your jam, right, you can mute me. We've got closed captioning enabled for you to be able to turn that on. And I do know sometimes I get to talking a little fast, so the closed captioning can always be helpful as well. So this is for you. Do what you need. And if you need to leave early, no worries, right? Not a problem. If you come late sometimes to these, no worries, right? It's just, we're here for you to be able to walk you through and give you lots of examples, right? Because that's really the point of these socials, is to show you how everybody uses this differently. And I will use it differently, even from month to month and week to week. It really depends on what you need. So make this your own, right? And again, the magic in new beginnings is truly the most powerful of them all. So it's a new month, it's a new year. I hope you can kind of feel that excitement and that magic and that joy as you move into January. So this month's theme, hopefully you all have your January journals. If you don't, that's not a problem. You can always take notes on scratch paper, you know, write things down on sticky notes and work on it later. But we are looking at this idea of prosperity. And of course, for me, as kind of a science fiction nerd, first thing I think of is Spock, live long and prosper, is what I always think of when I hear about prosperity. And the definition of that is the condition of being successful or thriving. It does say especially economic well-being, and I think a lot of times that's where folks' minds go to. Prosperity is about money or material things. But let's just kind of set that aside, right? Like, yes, it can mean financially. Yes, it can mean material wealth. But I think it really is that idea of thriving, that idea of looking into the future, that idea of being, you know, that idea of prosperity and abundance and all of those things, that really our mindset is super, super helpful and in manifesting and bringing in those things to us, right? And so I always like to remind folks, Meha, our fabulous founder, always writes us a little letter every month on page 2 that talks about what she thinks of when she thinks of these themes for the month. And so I always highly recommend that you take just a few moments to read through this. I just want to point out a couple things that stood out to me when I read through it. So she really is saying, like, this is our year to thrive, right? And again, prosperity, thriving, those kind of go hand in hand. She also talks about, you know, this idea of true prosperity is about living a life rich in purpose, joy, and fulfillment. It shows up in small moments every day, or small everyday moments, right? It can show up in these small moments like a peaceful yoga session or the joy of reconnecting with a friend. And really think about this month. What does prosperity look like to you? Again, this is very much about the personal, what does it mean to you? What prosperity looks like to me may not be the same thing as what it looks like to you, and that's absolutely fine. And that's what you're on a journey to really kind of think about this month. So what seeds of prosperity will you plant for this year? Right. And I love the folks in the chat that are talking about how journaling with these socials and with using the journal has really helped you get in touch with feelings, thinking deeper, being able to really learn more about yourself and learn more about what you want and what you don't want, right? Getting clear on that is so, so important. So here's our agenda for this evening. We're going to do, at the monthly setups, we like to do a little acrostic poem to help you kind of dig in to the monthly theme. And I do want to point out, if the word prosperity doesn't do it for you, right? You're just like, I'm not clicking with that word. Pick another word, right? Just pick another word and plop that in anytime you see the word prosperity. So something like thrive or abundance, you could totally use. We're going to do a little bit of a yearly reflection. So on the January monthly setups, we always do a little bit of time reflecting on the whole year past. And then we will specifically look at those December reflections. We will set our intentions for the month of January. We'll spend a little time setting up our mood tracker and our habit tracker, right? And I always use these two little cartoons if you've been with me in a social before. These are from an artist called The Latest Kate. And the first one says, there's room for you here just as you are. So if you are, things are going great, got a promotion at work, bought a new house, in a great relationship, your kids are doing something amazing, right? You want to share these amazing things. Please don't hesitate to share. We love to celebrate all those wins with our Sonder fam. But we know that sometimes life is not a series of ups, right? We have those downs, we have those valleys. And so if things aren't going so well for you, maybe you're not feeling well, or you have family who's ill, or a little furry family who's not feeling well, or finances sometimes at this time of year, or even just the fact that there's not a lot of light, right? We have less sunlight here in the northern hemisphere right now. Share those struggles with us as well. Sometimes it's just you just want to be able to kind of share that and have other people say, I hear you, I totally understand, hugs to you. And that's so important as well. We're here for all of that, the good and the bad, right? Because that's what life is. It's just that mix, right? And then the other one says, the way you feel matters, and no emotion you feel is bad or unworthy. So no one can tell you, oh, you shouldn't be sad about that, or oh, that shouldn't upset you, or you should be happy, or you should be glad, right? No one can tell us how we should feel, right? Our feelings are our feelings, and we're here for them, right? We're here for you, here for the feels, as we dive in and look at our monthly theme for prosperity. So maybe find a blank page or a sticky note or your thoughts journal or your Elevate planner or anything that you have. And we're going to have you think about what comes to mind when you think of the word prosperity. It could be words, it could be phrases, anything like that. Just don't second guess yourself. Just kind of write things down. Just give yourself a little time to do some brainstorming. When you hear that word prosperity, maybe close your eyes for a second and just think, what is that? What comes to mind? And then try to come up with at least 10 words or phrases that describe what prosperity means to you. And then see if you can work it into a poem where the first line of each letter is a letter from the word prosperity. Again, you can have sentences, one word, sets of words for each line, etc. So you could just write it out like this, right? And give yourself the lines. And I will tell you, some months we actually have a page for the acrostic poem, and some months we do not. So this month we do not actually have a page that has it in there. So again, this is up to you to find a space in your journal. And fabulous, the brilliance of the Sonder family never ceases to amaze me. Someone said, you know what I did on page 1, where it says notes, right? So it's the table of contents, and then there's that little section of notes. They wrote prosperity down, and then they did their little poem. Brilliant. I love it. And then another person used a whole blank page, right? Beautiful, with some really pretty stickers. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to play a little bit of music. I'll let you work on that. Feel free to share in the chat if you start to think of some of your words, or start to think of what you want to kind of pop in here for the poem. And then we'll check back here in just a few moments. Okay, thanks for those of you who shared a little bit about what you were going to write, what you're writing in here for your acrostic. And I forgot to mention, if you maybe wanted a different word other than prosperity for your acrostic, you can always use the month, right? Use January and write yourself hello January acrostic poem, or you can also make a word cloud, right? And if you ever want to do a word cloud on the computer, you can just kind of type in um, free word cloud creation, and then it will let you kind of create your own, and then you can print that out or write that out and put that in. So just a fun little way to get you really thinking about this idea of prosperity and what that's going to mean for the coming month. And again, if you did something else during this time, absolutely fine, right? If you have some other ideas for how you want to think about the theme or other words you want to think about the theme, that is fabulous. So we are going to move on to page 3, which is going to be our yearly reflection. So again, we obviously only do this for the January monthly setup, but what we want you to do is to really think back across the year, which I know sometimes can be tricky because 12 months, a lot of things can happen, and sometimes we tend to forget kind of everything that happened. And we give you 4 examples of things to think about as you want to reflect. Keep in mind, you could change any of these categories to better fit your year and your experiences and your life, right? So we have things that I achieved, people I met, places I went, and books I read. Now, obviously, maybe you don't want to do books I read, maybe you want to do audiobooks I listened to, or maybe you want it to be movies I listened to or podcasts I listened to. Just an idea of some, kind of listing out some of the things you did. Maybe instead of people you met, maybe if you're a crafter, it's things that you knitted or quilts that you made or projects that you completed, those kinds of things. It's always a good idea to kind of look at past journals. If you've been with us for a while, you can pull those out and take a look and kind of flip through and see what kinds of things you've done over this last year. Maybe you want to go through your camera roll on your phone. I often find lots of things when I'm doing that. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Oh yeah, I forgot about it. I did this. Maybe you want to look through your calendar. Just some way to kind of think about this year that has passed, right? And you can see some examples of things that some people have done. I like the one really pretty. They have little hearts in the middle and they just kind of wrote around the edges to address those categories. You can see the one on the top right, they changed people I met to things I learned, right? I love that idea, right? Things I learned, or maybe it's lessons that I learned. You can kind of change it up for that. I also really appreciate the person on the left obviously did a lot of reading. So the books I read, they have lots of things written. Yeah. And Jennifer is saying, I changed people I met to projects I completed. I have lots of hobbies and I'm proud of the things I finished. Absolutely. Right. This is just that chance for you to really kind of think about, what the heck did I do in 2024, right? What happened in 2024, right? What are some things that I achieved? And they could be small things, they could be big things, they could be maybe your goal for 2024 was doing a lot of decluttering. So maybe it's like things that you've decluttered, or maybe you were trying to cut down on impulse spending. And so you're maybe kind of writing about how, or thinking about all the things you didn't buy. Maybe it's just a list of all the things you didn't buy, right? So I will let you think about this. I'll play a little bit of music, let you work on this, and we'll check back in here in just a moment. All right. Thank you for sharing the different ways that you're using these sections. For some folks, I know they were saying, 2024 was really rough. I went through a lot of things. It was really hard. So trying to reflect back on the positive is really hard for me. So you don't have to ignore the bad things that happened, right? Again, maybe it's maybe you change one of these two: things I lived through, things I had to deal with, things I never want to deal with again, things I never want to have to see again, right? Things I don't want to happen again. You can totally do something like that. It's okay to reflect on the bad things, right? Because we use that optimism to help us think that things will get better, things will change. We're coming into a new year. So maybe it's futuristic future things, right? So maybe it's not a yearly reflection, it's more of a year's hopes for what 25 will be. So you could always use it for things I want to achieve in 2025, people that I want to meet, places I want to go, books I want to read, things I want to see, things I want to do. And then you can kind of look back at this throughout the year. The other thing too is keep in mind when you're with us for a while, right? Remember that this page will pop back up again every year. So maybe you want to kind of keep that in mind each month as you're thinking. So again, use these pages as you see fit. If it's too much to really think about right now, put it aside, look at it later, and just kind of see if you can jot just a few things down to just kind of help you remember. And sometimes just writing things down and putting them aside kind of can help get them out of your mind. So, and I saw Michelle said, oops, where was it? Another year cancer free, 5 in January. Yay, Michelle, we're so happy for you. So celebrate good wins, big wins, small wins, any of those kinds of things. The fact that you made it through the year sometimes is something that you need to celebrate, right? So we are here for that. So thank you all for sharing and spending just a little bit of time reflecting on 2024. So let's get into our monthly planner then. And we're going to look at just focusing on December, those December reflections. And again, we do this every month. We reflect on the previous month before we set up what we want for the next month. So again, this is a good way to just kind of solidify in your mind kind of what happened, how things went, some wins, some challenges, some favorite moments, and then maybe what you want to start, stop, and continue going into this next month. So this is on page 8 in your journal. So those wins are something that you did that made you smile, that made you happy. Maybe it was some sort of an accomplishment, something that happened. I often will put, if I finished any knitting projects, challenges or things that didn't go right, maybe things out of your control, a stumbling block, a frustration, something that was irritating in the month of December, stressful. I will probably put something like holiday traffic. I feel like traffic was a little stressful in December. I'm hoping January calms down a little bit. And then keep in mind, these could be from your rosebud thorns, from your weekly spreads from the last month. So maybe you want to take a look at those. Again, go back in and review your calendar, photos, those kinds of things from the last month to kind of see how that's working. And then the start, stop, and continue. Those are things that are not being done, but you want to do. Maybe they're things that you want to start doing to get better results. Maybe they're things that you want to try or experiment with in January. Things that you want to stop are things that are not working or helping, things that are impeding or not practical, things that are not delivering the desired results, things that are no longer serving you. And then continue are those things that are working well, things you want to keep, things you want to continue to do to see if they're worthwhile, things you like, or things you need. And here's some examples of things that folks have done for the start, stop, and continue. Signing up for different classes. They want to start exercising. They want to start walking. They want to stop. A lot of us have that common theme. We want to stop doom scrolling. We want to stop wasting time on the phone, stop mindlessly watching TV, stop procrastinating. And then things we want to continue, maybe our Silk and Sonder practice, coming to social, spending time in our journal, working on yourself, working on weekly plans, writing things down. I love they put what gets measured gets done. I think that's a great way to kind of think about that. and then continue honest expectations and realistic changes. So I will let you work on that section. We will check back here in just a few moments and we'll keep moving on. All right. So thank you for spending some time reflecting back on December. I know it's a little tricky. You were reflecting back on the whole year and then reflecting back on just December. But again, it's good to kind of spend a little bit of time thinking about this last month, those wins, big, small. I will say probably and sometimes the wins and the favorite moments are kind of the same. I would say mine overlap quite a bit because I did do a lot of the holiday festivities that I wanted to do. We got to go see the Nutcracker Ballet, and my nephew came into town, and he had never been to a ballet before, and he was really interested in seeing it, so he went, and so he had a really good time. And we got to go to the fun, like the drive-through Christmas lights, which was super fun. and got to go to the Christkindl market that they always have here in Denver. That's kind of this fun German market with all this really good food and gifts and fun things to look at. We got to go to this fun little ice cream shop that was all decked out. It was Santa's workshop. So it had like, it was all decorated, and they have this really, really good homemade ice cream. So those favorite moments, there were definitely a lot of favorite moments. And then again, the challenges can really be finances. I didn't do as much teaching as I had wanted to, and so there was like a little bit less in the financial coffers for me to get to. So that was a little bit challenging, especially in December. Um, but and I know like folks were sharing different things that they were that they kind of have gone over with for this last month. So always good just to spend just a few moments just thinking about this month that's passing, kind of thank it for lessons maybe that we learned, things that maybe we hope don't have to happen again as we move on into the next month and we move on to think about our intentions. So we're going to set our intentions for the month of January. This is over on page 9. And we give you these 6 categories um, as starters, right? So we give you spiritual health, personal life, physical health, key relationships, money management, and professional goals. If there's any one of these categories or all of these categories that don't quite fit what your areas of life that you want to focus on for January, feel free to change them, right? Like scratch them off, change them up to whatever you would like them to be. So maybe you want to use that theme of prosperity to set your intentions. Maybe you want to focus on a specific area like self-love or self-talk. Maybe you want to use names of songs or song lyrics that inspire you in these areas. Again, it's really that how you want to feel this month. Maybe you just want to use stickers or colors or images for each one of these sections. Maybe you want to think of one thing you want to let go of and one thing you want to start doing. So like that start and stop, or maybe it's a less of this and more of this in these areas. So page 9 kind of looks like this. And I always try to give you some ideas for what this month is considered kind of like the national month of blank. So mental wellness month, national blood donor month. And I know Jen said she just gave blood today. So yay, thank you for doing that. Self-love month, and dry January, right? A lot of folks follow the dry January where they don't drink any alcohol for the month of January. So just ideas of kind of the overarching things for the month that maybe you want to think of as you set these intentions. And remember, setting intentions isn't making a to-do list. You're not really making a to-do list for each of these areas here. You're asking something of yourself and giving yourself the strength to do it. So it's that intention. It's that how you want to kind of show up for yourself and the world in these areas. So here's some examples of things that some folks have done. Again, changing those categories to fit your life. Maybe money management turns into home and garden management. Maybe personal life changes to creative life. Professional goals changes to learnings or learning goals. Maybe you want to use some sticky notes at first as you're kind of thinking about what you want these to look like so you don't have to commit to anything yet. I know a lot of us, we don't want to scribble anything out in there. So sticky notes are friends. Maybe you want to incorporate some art, do a little bit of drawing. Maybe you want to leave a little space for reflection, like this person did where they have review to kind of review those little areas. Maybe you want to do it scrapbook style, where you have some different pictures, excuse me, some different quotes or some different sayings for each one of these little areas. Stickers, again, there's the really pretty more or less. They kind of have more of these things, less of this. Draw that in there. Maybe it's just one word. And you can see that this person in the middle that did a single word, they changed spiritual health to mental health. They changed personal life to personal fun. I think that's great, right? This idea of what's going to be personally fun for you this month. They changed money management to home management. And then you'll see up in the top right-hand corner, here's someone who used their word of the year. If you pick a word of the year that you like, this person picked bloom. I thought that was a really fun word of the year. And I saw some other folks were saying their word of the year was thrive, or different kinds of things. So maybe you want to take your word of the year and use that to set your intentions. Maybe you want to have some statements to support your intentions. So you'll say things like, I will blank, or I commit to do blank, I can, I intend, I am. Maybe those are ways that you would want to phrase that intention for those areas. Just simple statements to use, song titles. I like the one that looks like little envelopes, which is so smart. All it is just an X in there, but they kind of colored in that top and it looks like a little envelope. So they have in the little colored envelope, they want to have something. So feel. So like, for example, they said on physical health, they have feel healthy and energized. So then they gave themselves some actual action items in those other 3 boxes to think about. Maybe it's some quotes that you have. If you have a favorite author, sometimes you can just hop on Google and put the author's name and quotes about physical health, and then things will pop up, things that they've said. So that's always kind of a fun one. And here's some other examples of things that folks have done. And they, for their intentions, they say ways I want to show up for myself in each of those areas, right? So they're kind of saying, this is how I want to show up for myself in these areas. And then the other one, they have ambition to do certain things, right? In those particular areas. Whoops. So I'll just kind of cycle through these. Again, remember to take screenshots if there's something that you particularly like, something that you want to remember. And feel free to share with us any of these, or if you repurposed, we love to hear about different ways, different categories you might give some of these boxes. Also, remember, you don't have to fill out every single one of these boxes. Maybe you really want to focus on physical health for the month of January, and you're not going to do the other boxes. So just fill those in with some stickers or some colors, or just leave them blank and focus on just one. Maybe you want to focus on 2. Again, this is totally up to you with what you want to do, what you want, those intentions that you want for the month of January. So again, play a little bit of music, let you work on those. Feel free to let us know, again, kind of what you're putting in these boxes, and then we'll check back in. All right. So, how do we do with setting those intentions? Hopefully, you came up with a few. Maybe you came up with all six. Maybe you just focused on doing a couple, really kind of thinking about how you want to move forward in those areas for the month of January. So, hopefully, you're able to take some screenshots of those as well if you're still kind of thinking about it. I saw somebody saying, I'm going to type these out or I'm going to write these out somewhere before I commit them into my journal. Absolutely fine, right? Sometimes we like to give ourselves a little bit of time to think before we commit it into the journal. You can always use, they do have correction tape that's kind of this cream color instead of the white. So um, I definitely have used some correction tape sometimes on some of the things that I've written because I was like, oh, shoot, I didn't mean that. I want to change that to something else. So always know that you can always switch things up. So these next two pages that we're going to focus on are on page 10 and 11. There are mood and habit trackers. We're going to tackle the mood tracker first. And the idea here is that we're going to come up with some different moods that we want to track for the month, so we can kind of look back and see how things were going for us. For that month with our moods. So it really helps us kind of see some trends in how we're feeling. Maybe it helps us notice and make some shifts in what we're doing or our habits and behaviors. And then we can bring tools into what works when those positive moods are showing up, when those good things are showing up that we want to encourage those moods. We can kind of think about, okay, what was I doing that made me feel energetic? Oh, I was, making sure that I went to bed at the same time every night. I was eating some fruits and vegetables during the day. I went for a walk. Oh, I talked to one of my friends who's a very upbeat person, right? I did all these things. So I noticed that there were some positive moods associated with that. So I want to do more of those things because I want more of those positive moods to show up. So you may have noticed that sometimes we have hexagons, sometimes we have it in a circle. I will tell you the pattern is a little bit different this year. So this month, you notice there are 31 days and we're doing the hexagon. Used to be the 31-day months had the circle and the other months had the hexagons. It's a little bit different this month. So just be prepared. You might have hexagons or you might have it set up in the circle. And I know we have team hexagon and team circle, but I know you can all be flexible and use what we have here to move forward, right? Yeah, I know. Michelle's like, they're just messing with us, right? Yeah. So again, I know that is a little, some people really, it kind of throws them off, but I have faith in you. I know you can do it. So we're going to pick maybe 2 or 3 negative feelings, maybe 1 neutral feeling, maybe 2 or 3 positive feelings that we want to track. Maybe we want to focus on that theme of prosperity. Maybe we want to fill in every emotion that came up for that day. Maybe we want to fill in whatever emotion was strongest. We can use stickers, colored pins, doodles, or just a pen to create our key for us there. We have the fabulous mood feelings wheel, right, that you can use. And I'll cycle back through this so you can take a look again. And if you want to find some that you want to pick, you can use those. If you want to repurpose it, if you don't want to track your moods, maybe you want to use it as an affirmation tracker or tracking your anxiety levels or your depression levels, energy levels. Maybe it's a scale of 1 to 6 on a specific feeling, or maybe it's a rate the day, from 1 to 6, 1 being worst day ever, 6 being greatest day, or however you want to set that up, right, is totally up to you. Here's some examples of things that folks have done. The one in the top left is one who was tracking anxiety. And so they are tracking, like if they had a panic attack, if it was heavy anxiety, frequent, moderate, light, or none. So they could kind of get an idea of how much anxiety they were feeling each day. The one underneath that I like is they're tracking some emotions, manic, balanced, or depressed, along with their energy levels for the day, which I think is kind of an interesting way to kind of merge that together and see, like, notice they had balance for the first 3 days and medium energy level. So that might be something that would be interesting to kind of take a look at those two. The one up in the top right, they're tracking happy, sad, joy, peace, hopeless, and alone. And they're kind of coloring in every feeling that kind of came up for them in the little hexagons there. The person underneath that has content, disappointed, frustrated, productive, relaxed, and stressed. And they used some little stickers to go in there and track that. Here's some other examples of things folks have done. Again, sad, anxious, neutral, happy, jealous, grateful. fear, anger, sadness, surprise, joy, and love. One person is using it as a food tracker, so they're tracking if they had carbs and dairy, and then kind of how they felt after eating those foods. So that's an interesting way you can kind of do that. Then they have another person who's tracking like joyful, calm, unsure, stressed, tired, right? Sometimes kind of tracking those energy levels can be good. And I liked this little quote that said, "My moods don't just swing, they bounce, pivot, recoil, rebound, oscillate, fluctuate, and occasionally pirouette." Right? So maybe you want to track a particular mood and how strong it was during the day. So again, totally up to you as you're going through and tracking. We'll go back through these for you so you can kind of take a look and let us know what you're going to track. Are you going to track moods? Are you going to use this for something else? Some people use it to track books that they've read. Some people use it to track exercise. I see Dawn's doing mental health care this month, Jim, um, like gym and TV, painting, coloring, kind of tracking those kinds of things. So let us know what you're going to do for this section, and then we'll check back in here and keep moving on. Okay, so did you find some things that you want to track? Again, it could definitely be moods. It could be a lot of folks were talking about they use it for different health symptoms. So things like migraines, or if they're having some gastrointestinal issues, or maybe it's blood sugar levels. It's just kind of anything that you want to be able to track on a daily basis, that would obviously kind of fit into these little boxes, but so that you can look back and have this nice sheet of data to be able to kind of look and see if there's any patterns, if there's anything maybe particularly happening that you want to kind of be able to address. Right. And the thing about mood tracking sometimes is, have you ever said like, oh, I'm always angry, or I'm always grumpy, or I'm always stressed, or those kinds of things? And I think we have a tendency sometimes to just kind of get into that all or nothing. And so if we actually track it, then sometimes when we look back, we can see like, oh no, there actually were several days in here I was relaxed, or I was happy, or I was, kind of feeling good. I will say, I feel like I have way too many emotions in one day to try to track in one little box. So what I do is I set a timer at noon on my watch when I take my noon supplements to also track my mood at noon. So I can always say at noon every day, this is how I felt. And then I can kind of track and see, did there seem to be any sort of a pattern for weekends versus weekdays, or, days I was off, or any particular days that look like at noon it was always kind of a stressful time or something like that. So that's another way that you can, when you're thinking about tracking, you can use it that way as well. Or some people like to at night, they kind of track the mood that the overarching mood, right, of the day. So you can do that as well. So this last little section that we're going to tackle in our time together is on page 11, and this is our habit tracker. So maybe we want to start doing some new habits. Maybe we want to start doing some different things. Maybe we want to have a stop, right? Things we want to stop doing. And then there's also those things we want to continue, things that are bringing us value. So again, you can use prosperity as your focus for the habits. Maybe you want to pick some kind of a theme like grounded or calm, joy, delight, something like that. If you have habits you were tracking last month and that worked out really well, bring them forward. You don't have to come up with brand new habits every month, right? If there's something that's working, bring it forward and find a balance. Habits you can do, and ones that are going to be trickier to commit to. So if you're new, I don't recommend coming up with 7 brand new habits that you haven't been doing, right? That's going to be way too much. It's going to feel a little overwhelming, and you might just ignore this page altogether, right? So maybe pick one new habit that you want to start this month that you want to focus on. And then maybe something, if there's something else that's already a habit, maybe you're really good at packing your lunch every day for work. You're already in that habit, you're already doing it. So, but go ahead and track it, right? Because that gives you that nice, easy win. I always make my bed every morning. Even when we're on vacation, my husband laughs at me because I always make the bed in the hotel room. It's just what I do. It's my start of the day. It gets me off on the right foot. I've done a thing. It's tidy. I've made my bed. So if I ever feel like I need an easy win, I will make my bed on here, because then I know I'm going to have one that I can check off. And remember, you don't have to fill in every single line on this page, right? You can have just one thing. So here's some examples of things that folks have done and ways that they've filled out the tracker. So notice that one in the top right, they have 3 things, right? They have brush their teeth 2 times a day, make their bed, and do their daily affirmations. And then the other lines they've blocked out, right? Beautiful. That is lovely. Another person, they have theirs, and they have this really pretty little kind of like Christmas lights kind of going there that they're using to kind of mark off the days when they do the thing. They get to put the little Christmas light bulb there. And a lot of people do like to mark the days of the week across the top, and sometimes they like to kind of shade in the weekends so that they can kind of see if there's something different about the weekdays versus the weekends. Um, and then you can kind of go from there. Keep in mind that this is kind of a use it every day things you want to do every day for the habits, because there's the little habit and activity tracker in each week that's more specific to the week. These are kind of ones you want to do every day, but you don't have to. So maybe it's something that you want to do on the weekdays but not on the weekends, and you can just black out the weekend day as well. And notice that there's the person in the bottom, they had a migraine, right? And they didn't do their things, they didn't do those particular habits, but they had a migraine, so they kind of wrote that in there. And then they have that, right? They have that information there already. So keep in mind things like reading 20 pages of a book per day is 30 books per year. Saving $10 a day is $3,650 a year. Running a mile per day is 365 miles. Decluttering one room per week finishes your home in 3 months, right? So these little things add up. So make them little things that you can keep track of. And here's some other examples of things that folks have done. Really kind of thinking about, does this habit serve me, or am I blindly following an old routine? And if you want to predict where you end up in life, all you have to do is follow the curve of tiny gains and tiny losses and see those daily choices. So what are some things that you want to make a daily choice about to keep up with that? And I saw Elise is asking, how does everyone reward themselves for doing their habits, for doing their things? I'd love to hear some ideas for things that you do. For me, oftentimes the reward is just putting the sticker on the wheel. Stickers are very rewarding for me, or maybe even just the X. And then you kind of have those little X's that are there. So that's always kind of fun. We'll see if anybody else. Amanda says candy. Here's some other really fun ones. And I love the beautiful, beautiful one on the left-hand side. This is definitely someone who uses their journal as kind of their creative outlet, and they really have gone all out with colors and the stickers and all of that. For those of us that are more productivity minded, I don't get quite as fancy as that, but I love that folks can use this for their creative outlet as well. And then notice again, here's someone who has read, allergy drops, fruits and veggies, and home care, and then they've blocked out the other lines. Things like brushing your teeth, journaling, reading a book for 25 minutes. Someone says that they treat themselves to a new pair of earrings or nail polish. Ooh, I like that. Love those ideas. And then remember, this isn't a bingo, and coverall isn't the only way to win. So give yourself grace if you don't do these sometimes, and you have to leave some open squares for the month, right? To me, it's a good way to look back at the end of the month and say, okay, I set up these habits. Did I do them? If I didn't, why didn't I? Was it because I thought this was a habit I should do, but I didn't actually do? Or, how does that work? So I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to let you work on this little section, come up with some habits. Let us know what you're going to be tracking for the month, and then we'll check back in and wrap things up. All right. So hopefully you've come up with some habits. Again, I know our time together is kind of short, and I always say this is the fastest hour, and this has been the fastest hour and 15 minutes, right? But you're always welcome to keep working on this. And sometimes this is just kind of a jumping off point to give you some ideas of things to do. And again, like I said, we do have another monthly setup tomorrow and on Monday. So you're welcome to come to those as well, get some different ideas from some other facilitators and spend more time working on it, because sometimes I know folks spend a lot of time in the chat. Some folks is nose in the journal the whole time working on it. So it's totally up to kind of whatever works for you for this. Yeah. And Denise is saying I'm still on my intentions. That's fine. It's absolutely fine. You know the pages that are in here that you're going to work on. So hopefully you got some good ideas from what we went over, and you're going to be able to fill this out later on your own. We're just here to give you a little guiding hand, give you that time when you carve time out for yourself so that you can work on things, right? So please feel free to share your planner in Sonder Club if you feel compelled to, right? You don't have to, it's not a requirement, but you can see all these examples we got from real life Sonder fam members. And I think I saw a few people say like, oh, that's mine up there, right? These are real examples. And I think that's what's so important, is just to kind of see how other folks have used the journals, see what other folks are doing, and know that there's no right or wrong way to do this. There are no journal police. We're not going to show up at your doorstep and ask to see your journal and give you a demerit if it's wrong, or take it away if you didn't do it like you're supposed to, right? This is totally for you, and experimenting and having fun with it is part of the fun. And again, it's a new one every month. So if something didn't go so hot for you this month, the way you fill it out, do something different next month. Not a big deal, right? Totally up to you as you work on it. So again, thank you all so much for joining us. I do want to mention that we do have that 24/7 personalized life coach that we're still offering some discounts on. And I think Jen's going to pop in some links in the chat to give you some ideas of some of the discounts for the different things that are there. Also, events, she popped in the Eventbrite link for you to be able to sign up for more of our socials. We've got lots of them coming up. We've got some that are specifically focused on journal prompts. We do weekly setups every weekend. We do the monthly setups, right? We love to see folks coming to that. And the cool thing about if you get this personalized coach, you can actually take a picture of a journal page and say, like, knowing what you know about me, how should I fill out this page? Or what are some ideas for things that I should do as I work on this page? So, and Beth Ann was asking if the personalized coach is all AI. It's primarily AI, but there is some human interaction with it as well that feeds into kind of looking at it as they work on setting that up. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you for carving some time out of your evening. We hope to see you again soon. And just know you got this, right? We're ready going into 2025. You're going to have everything all set up and ready to go. So thank you all so much for joining, and we will see you again soon.